Okay. Are you ready to get
I'm
into
ready
the
as I'll ever
cesspool
be.
that is Man of the Woods?
I'm ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, I think the most positive thing I can say about this album is it's not Culture 2 and it's not Eminem's Revival. That's honesty right there.
Basically.
It's not those two albums. It's not an hour and 45 minutes long, and it's not trying to revive a career and failing miserably. It's just cringy as fuck and really annoying. That's all I gotta say about this album. That's my review. No, but Justin Timberlake is an artist, a pop artist that's been around for pretty much a millennia at this point. He was a member of NSYNC, and he's okay at times. I would say he has some good moments here and there. Like, I like tracks like "What Goes Around Comes Around" and "Mirrors" and "Suit and Tie."
What goes around comes around.
I think he has potential as a pop artist, and I like some of the people he works with, but it never seems like any of his collaborations pan out that well. Like, he's done a lot of work with the Neptunes, and it's just never been like amazing like you would think. Because Pharrell Williams is a really talented producer. Chad Hugo is also a really talented producer. And when they're together, you expect something really fun. But it never, anytime I hear them together, it never really surprises me, except for like a glimpse here and there. You would think it would be something really special. And like Jay-Z with his collaboration on Jay-Z and Suit and Tie, that's kind of like a weird example, but like Justin Timberlake's worked with like will.i.am and 365 Mafia and like a plethora of other artists that he's dragged to the great, like J. Cole even. He's dragged like a plethora of artists with the great into his pit, and it just never pans out right. And I find him really cringy and annoying. I kind of honestly, he remained in NSYNC.
This is only his 5th studio album, possibly 4th. So, like,
It depends on how you view 2020.
2020, I consider one complete project.
I would consider it one complete project because it was all in pretty much the same year.
Yeah, it was on the same year.
But this is only his 4th project, and that's not,
Fourth solo project.
Doesn't include NSYNC stuff,
No.
but
And I wouldn't consider Justin Timberlake to be a bad artist because I seriously think he's got like a lot of hard-hitting, fun singles, whether it be, like, you could go all the way back to, like, Sexy Back, which Vincent hates that song, but, like, it's catchy to boot. You've got to give it that.
No, okay, Sexy Back, so I re-listened to, Future Love / Sex Noises, or whatever it's called, Future Sex Love Sounds, or whatever the fuck it's called. Sex Noises. I listened to that, recently. And that's how I discovered that he did a track with 365 Mafia. But I like that album. I remember liking it as a kid because I think my mom had it.
No, I mean, it's pretty good. Justin Timberlake's like,
there's some tracks that I like. Like, I like the track Summer Love. I like What Goes Around Comes Around. I think those are some good moments on the outro. But like, Sexy Back is so bad. It's so cringy. It's so cringy.
This is a club hit from the 2000s.
I liked it as a kid, but I also liked some dumb shit as a kid, and going back to that now is just like the cringiest thing. Just like the cringiest fucking...
It's catchy.
I don't even think it's catchy. It's just annoying.
I think it's catchy.
But
2020 had good stuff though. We talked about it a little bit.
Mirrors.
Mirrors is probably my favorite JT song.
Yeah, it's up there. I think it's like one of his most well-written and well-performed.
Right. He can be artistic and make good music when he wants, but this new album, it doesn't seem like he wants to.
This album reminds me of like just some of his worst material, and just like I kind of got a feeling this was coming because of his last track, his last major single, "Can't Stop This Feeling," which was just terrible.
It's all over the radios.
It was just
from
terrible.
Trolls the movie.
Why was that a thing? Like, it just was so fucking annoying. But
he's still banking.
This new record, which was announced like at the beginning of January, it like the video that hyped it up, it was like, oh, he's gonna make a really country centric album or something really woodsy or something really nature inspired, taking him to his roots in a sense, because he's from like Tennessee, and that he
That's not
makes
very country,
yeah,
but-
it's not very country, but it's like woodsy, I guess. In his mind, it's very woodsy, I guess. But I was interested in that concept because I thought it was going to be consistent or more of a country album.
Well, I think Bon Iver did it well with his first EP.
I don't.
I would consider that woodsy because it was made in the
Yeah.
woods.
Okay.
and it was
I
about
thought you were
his-
saying that was country.
No,
I
no.
was like,
I'd consider that a very like naturey,
Hmm.
woodsy inspired album, and so I thought Justin Timberlake would make something kind of in the vein of that. But quite honestly, it didn't pan out.
And then I also heard that like Chris Stapleton was going to be on it, and Alicia Keys, and even Alicia Keys not woodsy, but Chris Stapleton really is. But I thought like maybe it would have some like soul to it, so maybe it would fit that. And then he dropped Filthy, which in all honesty, I've heard some people say this is like the worst track on the album. It's not bad, I would say. There's way worse material on this album, but I think that track is not what I wanted from this album. It's very classic JT. It's like it's basically 2018's version of Sexy Back.
Filthy reminds me of, and I told this to Vincent earlier, it reminds me of like a David Byrne track over a super generic bass line. Like his vocals, just the way he delivers, very Talking Heads-esque.
And then my reply to that is it sounds like Justin's trying to do Closer by 9 Inch Nails, but he's doing a way less industrial version, a more like a very poppy sound. But like the bass line, the electronic bass line, and the actual bass line that are in the track are just so cheesy and just so dumb. I think the actual bass line's kind of okay, but I think the dubstep inspired bass line, like leave that in 2010. Just leave that there.
Leave it with scary monsters and nice sprites.
Yeah, just leave it there. Like we don't need
Skrillex
that. We don't need that in
song.
2018. Like dubstep came, served the
that outta
purpose of like
here.
rising all these artists like Skrillex, and it served its time. I think it's
done.
done. Leave that shit in 2010. I think that's where it needs to be. But like that track has some of the most cringy material on this album. What you gonna do with all that meat? Put your filthy hands up on it. Haters gonna say it's fake.
Here's the kicker, though, fellas. This might be one of the better tracks on the album.
It is. It's one of the better tracks
That's
because Justin's
That's what makes it bad.
because the production is bad, but it's not country. And Justin, at least it's poppy, and Justin fits over it, and his performance isn't that bad. Like parts of his performance got stuck in my head, like the
It's a single for the reason.
Yeah,
You know?
put your filthy hand. That's been stuck in my head for like a month now. I hate that track to death, but it's been stuck in my head, and it's one of the better tracks on the album. And follow that up with a couple other singles, which we'll talk about in a minute. He did a single with Chris Stapleton, Say Something, and he dropped Supplies, which is pound for pound my worst.
It's about
It's the worst track
about
on the album.
Office Depot.
I wish that would probably been
It's a conference
less
called
cringy.
Office Depot.
But this new album, Justin, after Filthy came out, Justin explained this album as modern Americana with 808s. He's quoted as saying that. It's not Americana. It's contemporary country at times, at moments. But I feel like half this album's contemporary country, shittily produced contemporary country at that. And then half this album is shitty JT.
If you look,
Shitty pop music.
if you look, there's a definite line that divides where the country starts and the pop ends. The whole first half of the album is just a really like generic pop album with lyrics that don't mean anything, like super corny production. But then after the Hers interlude, and I guess possibly containing Say Something with Chris Stapleton, after that you're looking at all these like song names, and it's just blatantly, it's almost like parody country. You look at some of these names: Flannel, Montana,
Yeah.
Living Off the Land, Breeze Off the Pond. Like, come on, you couldn't have tried. You might as well name the track like Tractor or something, you know, Bale of Hay.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw. I don't know how much like more parody country you can get, but like this is just garbage. It's awful. Worst tracks on the album for sure. Flannel, immensely cheesy, like just way too corny for human consumption. Living Off the Land sounds like a parody of a theme song from a Western TV show. Like the theme song for Bonanza or something.
And
you can like sing along to the chords in the background and make what would be like Justin Timberlake riding on a horse, and everybody in the background like, oh.
Here's the thing about this. Justin Timberlake is from Tennessee. He is not country. You can say you're from around Nashville.
Here's an
in
excerpt,
that area.
Nashville is the country capital of the world. It's the country music capital of the world.
But he's
but like Justin Timberlake, just because you're born in Tennessee doesn't mean that you are a country
He's
artist.
not making like, well, he's making country music, but the bigger deal, what I got from that statement is he's not like deep country. He's not just, it's not just because he's making country music. It's because he's saying he's like a man of the woods when he really isn't. Like, I don't think he's spent time in the woods like the last year. I don't think
he went into the woods to take this picture.
Oh, okay. Besides that one time, and probably for some of the promotional videos, he hasn't gone in the woods.
Now, I've also read that the album was titled Man of the Woods because, this album was actually put on hold for 2 years with Pharrell because of the birth of his son. And his son's name is Silas, which I guess means Man of the Forest.
Pharrell's son?
No, Justin Timberlake.
Okay,
Justin Timberlake's son that appears at the very end of the whole album.
Yeah, I was confused.
On Young Man. No, his name is Silas.
Wait, Young Man? Private Temple Hours! Private Temple Hours!
Jerry Seinfeld? But I guess the album is named after Silas, which means Man of the Forest. But I don't understand that because I know his son hasn't been into the forest. He's like when you put your kids in a surfing t-shirt and they've never surfed in their life.
He named him Silas after the Ring of Honor professional wrestler Silas Young, who's the last real man.
Silas Young Man?
Oh, that's why. That my theory has some validity. You want to see a photo of Silas Young?
Sure.
Okay, but like go back to what you're talking about.
Oh. But yeah, basically, like, I also know that that's who it's about. That's the kid.
Okay, go back.
That's the kid at the end. But like, this whole album, just the whole Man of the Woods motif doesn't show up until the very end, about halfway through. Well, I guess halfway through the album, and even then, it's almost just making fun of itself. It doesn't take itself very seriously. And if Justin Timberlake is seriously coming out saying this album is modern Americana with 808s,
it's not.
And then his whole like half of the album is just almost parody country, or parody like hick hop, I guess. Then I don't understand what he's doing. What is he going for here?
It's like he's not consistent. I'd rather he either just go full pop or go for country. He's not a man of the woods. He's not like a country goer, I would say. He's not that.
He camps in a cabin. He has an RV. He doesn't know how to pitch a tent.
Yeah, like
he's never hunted an animal before and skinned it.
And like what are some of the other biggest problems we have with this album? The Neptunes do like a decent amount of the production on here, and none of it incites me. It seems like
Timberland does some too.
No, I said Neptunes do a majority. Oh, because like Timberland does some production. There's this other guy that does some of the more country tracks. I forget his name. It's gonna pop in my head in a couple of minutes. But the Neptunes do a majority of the production, and none of it's exciting. Like Pharrell just got out of like one of the most hype albums of his career so far with Nerd, with the track Lemon, which was fucking huge and one of his best songs he's ever made. And we get into this, and it's some of the most bland and boring production that kind of sounds like Neptune's production, but really doesn't. And it almost makes me think that Pharrell was
asleep.
No, he was on Nerd. He was focused on that. He was on Nerd Time. This was a side project. This was more of a thing to goof around with in his spare time. But like his first project was Nerd. His ace stuff was going to Nerd.
Well, after putting him on a hold for 2 years, like what are you gonna do?
Yeah, like
can't wait around forever.
It's Breeze Off the Pond is their best production performance on this album, and it sounds like one of my biggest gripes with NERD's Nerd's last album. Sounds like a Pharrell Williams B-side or Pharrell Williams girl B-side.
Yeah,
and that's what like a decent amount of no one ever really dies played into. It played in those Pharrell Williams girl B-sides tracks like ESP, and Lightning Fire, Magic Prayer. And I think on this album it's okay because it's not terrible and it's better than what they're doing, but there's just some really, really terrible production like on this album that they do. Like Midnight Summer Jam is just this lame guitar loop. It has this random ass harmonica that pops up and it's just disgusting.
It's not even good.
And
There's like two notes that it plays.
And it's just so terrible. It's just so terrible. And there's another, I gotta look for it, but like it's just the production on this project, not only from the Neptunes but from Justin Timberlake and Timberland. It's just bad. It's not good. On Wave, the 808 on Wave, the 808 in the back literally sounds like popcorn by Hot Butter. You know what I'm talking about? It literally sounds like that. Like at random points, this 808 will pop on and be like, "Why are you sampling this? Neil Cicerega already did it, and it was way better than you ever."
It's a classic. It's a classic.
But it doesn't. It's not country.
Yes, it is.
It's not Americana.
Hank Williams Jr. made that song.
Hank Hill Jr. But like the guitar licks on this album are all terrible. When it gets in the more poppier production on tracks like Filthy and Supplies, that's also complete fucking garbage. Like again, we already mentioned like the shitty ass electronic bass that's on Filthy, and just Supplies is just some of the most like lame and repetitive production I've heard like all year. And what's sad about it is like I would say it's some of the better production on the album. Those weaker, poppier moments are some of the better moments because it at least it's catering to one style. It's not trying to be country, and for a majority of its album, it's trying to mesh country with pop, and it's like these 808s don't fit over these guitar licks, and it just sounds messy. The guitar licks are really repetitive and lame and cheesy, and the 808s just stick out like a sore thumb. Like they have no reason to be on top of these like just like terribly produced guitar licks, and everything just seems like a scattered mess. It's just ugly sounding, and it just doesn't feel like someone put heart and soul into it. And that's for an album that's really woodsy and almost country inspired. I would expect a lot of heart and soul, a lot of energy, a lot of love be put into it. It really isn't.
That's what country music truly thrives off of, is soul, and I think that's why the country scene is lacking nowadays, especially with the rise of like country rock or pop country.
What it is
because like
contemporary pop music, but with a country flair.
Yeah,
it's literally all it is anymore.
It lacks soul, and this is just lifeless production, lifeless delivery by Justin Timberlake. Like, if you want to market a country album, then you've got to put some heart and soul into it, and there's just none. It's completely void of it. Can we talk about some lyrics?
You want to?
I wrote down my favorite bad lyrics.
I don't. Okay, I'll cringe.
Okay, so Justin Timberlake's lyrics are some of the corniest things I have ever read or heard, including but not limited to. Here's some of my favorites. I love your pink. You like my purple. You must be God herself. Can I come worship? On Sauce. Here's a good one.
Sauce?
Sauce. With the Tex-Mex flair. Success is cool. Money is fine. But you're special. Another level on higher. Best one here. Right behind my left pocket. That is where you'll feel my soul. It's been with me many winters. It will keep you warm on Flannel. And then literally any lyrics on Young Man. My least favorite track on the album, when he's talking to his son. It's basically Macklemore's growing up from this unruly mess I've made, except for JT took a look at it and said, how can I make this track 20 times worse with even worse lyrics? He talks to his son about making plans and sitting down because he's a young man, and how to score a lady that's as hot as his mom.
Okay, my least favorite line from that is it's your mom's looking pretty hot, might get you a sister.
Yeah.
That's like that. And then another bad line on Supplies. The world could end now, baby. We'll be living in The Walking Dead. That's pretty bad. And there's like there's so many like bad lines to count. I feel like we'll make reference to more as like they come in and out of our heads. But like,
We don't ever back down. Don't back down. We don't have to act out. Don't act out.
That's just shitty. That's like not even like corny. It's just bad.
It's just bad songwriting. This is awful songwriting. Justin Timberlake, never talk about your son ever again.
And not
Also, this was produced by J-Rock. Yep.
Okay, not J-Rock, J-Rock.
J-Rock.
It's not
Like
J-Rock.
the producer, not
Top
J-A-Y.
I was like, Top Dog. Why did you do this? But yeah, this is just like one of the cringiest. Oh, and also Justin Timberlake ruins a perfectly good meme on Sauce, but the intro is like, it's a meme of the guy who's working at Best Buy, and he's just like, Sauce forever. It just goes on this long speech of why sauce is forever. He ruined that, and like
it's bad. Man.
Like that's not even like a woodsy thing. Why are you making like 21st century references on
Best
a very
Buy is woodsy?
Yeah, like it just shows like he doesn't really have a consistency to this album. So we mentioned there's not a lot of heart and soul in country, and one of the artists that has a lot of heart and soul, and he's been probably the best thing in country for a while now, a couple years, since 2015. I would say 2014. I forget when Traveler came out. Chris Stapleton, he's put out good work, I would say, even though I didn't really care for it that much. I thought his last project, From the Room Volume 2, was okay.
It was solid.
I thought From the Room Volume 1 was good. I enjoyed that. But on this project, on Say Something, it's Justin Timberlake's the best part of the track.
I would argue and say Chris Stapleton was the best part.
Because Chris Stapleton just feels out of place. I feel like Chris Stapleton's performance is better, but Justin Timberlake feels more at home.
Justin Timberlake reminds me of like The Thing, like from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Not like the Fantastic Four, but like he almost like assimilates whatever artist that he's on a track with. He did the same thing with Alicia Keys in her track.
Oh yeah,
like just a very like coffee shop kind of vibe.
I got really soulful, but Alicia Keys wasn't soulful. JT was.
Weirdly enough, he assimilated her personality, and like he almost steals Chris Stapleton's style here. And like I'm not overly fond of that, but what resulted was, and I'm not saying the track is like super good by any means.
It's the best track,
but it's the best track on the album. It's decent.
It's not,
and that's the best I can say.
It's not annoying. I would say it's not good, but it's not pissing me off. It's just poorly produced. The pop style, again with country, just doesn't work. Chris Stapleton fills out of his element. Justin Timberlake, weirdly enough, is, I would say, more okay on this than a couple other tracks on the album. But even though nothing fits, it's still one of the better tracks. It's not cringy, lyrically wise. Production doesn't clobber it, Chris, but it's fine overall, I would say. It works. But like Alicia Keys, same thing. Morning Light,
also not a horrible track either.
I would say it's bad. I just feel like JT's better, but he's not good.
It was corny, but
I would say it's a shitty mix of
sure.
pop, country, and R&B / soul. And Alicia Keys' performance is non-existent. Like she might as well not have been
she
there.
Didn't show out.
It probably would have been the same if there was like her vocals weren't there. And that's it. I don't see the point of like these features, because Chris Stapleton, at least he's a good performer overall. Alicia Keys, she's okay, but like on this, it's like, why even have her there?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Some other problems I have with this album, not stylistically wise or narratively. I think Jessica Biel, Justin Timberlake's wife, who shows up a couple times on this album, is just phoning it, or not phoning it in, but overacting, I would say. Like, she doesn't seem natural. As an actor, like, your goal is to be, like, is to show emotion, but not overshow emotion. Unless you're like a theater actor, then that makes complete sense that you overshow emotion. But like on this, she's completely overacting for everything. Unless that's her actual personality, which good luck JT living through that, because that would be a fucking pain. She shows up at the end of Filthy, and something that would like I thought was gonna set up a larger narrative when I first heard the single. It doesn't. It shows up like on the end of Flannel, I think, and doesn't come back up. I thought like she was gonna be a voice that was like telling Justin to go in the woods, and like Justin was gonna go on this journey.
Go to the woods.
He was gonna like go through the woods and hear a voice, and like she was gonna tell him a story or something like that, or anything narratively.
She didn't.
She didn't. She's overacting during it.
She missed her cue.
She didn't. They just want to record audio. Justin was just like, "Can you just shut up?" It doesn't show up. Like, what's the purpose of these 2 narrative moments on this 1-hour album? Like, why are they here? Why does it need to exist? Her on Hers Interlude, her telling about like I think the story about like what she likes about Justin or how she interacts with Justin. It's just so forced. It's so forced acting. Like she's just reading lines or she's trying to be overly emotional or overly sentimental, and it just doesn't seem natural and doesn't seem real. And it kind of throws you off. And at the end with Young Man, she's like interacting with her son, and it literally sounds like she's reading lines.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like she is just such a terrible actor on this. For someone who's actually an actor.
It brings down the narrative quite a bit, honestly.
There's no narrative to this project. It's not fledged out whatsoever.
No, I mean, it brings down the kind of narrative that he was trying to make, I guess, about being the man of the woods or...
There's no narrative.
Being a man in the woods.
He doesn't try to make a narrative.
Being the man with the wood.
But, like...
If she looks good, you might get a sister.
She's like she's an Italian actor. No, she's a talented actor. Like I especially like her work on BoJack Horseman. So she's even a talented voice actor playing herself. But on this,
she just cannot
playing a parody of herself. She's better at that than playing herself. But like, yeah, she's just terrible. I hated every time she showed up, and I wish it was honestly she was not on the project. Her intimate experience with her son just seems like, hey, let's have fun while we're in front of the camera, or you have the mic on. It's like a reality TV moment.
You've been bugged.
Okay, so we already mentioned a lot of the worst moments on this album. Supplies, which is my least favorite. Just cringy as fuck writing. It's one of Justin's most poppy tracks. And he does feel natural over it, but I think it's just... especially with the music video being as fucking cringy and making Justin look like Messiah like he did, is just fucking annoying. This is like the most annoying track. Midnight Summer Jam, I already talked about this. The annoying ass fucking guitar loops, the 808s, the terrible Neptunes production.
It's a sequel to Can't Stop
how
the Feeling.
How he says, what does he say? Act like the South ain't shit. That's like, why are you dissing on the fucking South? Like the South, even though, again, some Southern artists, Migos, hashtag start Migos 2K18, have some bad projects. The South is like fucking popping right now. Like, it's completely popping. Like,
oh, yeah.
It's like everything Southern, especially hip hop, is surrounded by the Southern scene. Like artists like Young Thug, Lil Yachty, Migos, Gucci Mane, just like a plethora of artists.
They're all from the South.
Like I don't understand why he's being this hypocritical. I think it's supposed to bring more attention to Tennessee, but like, dude, this isn't bopping. Like, why the fuck are you trying to make fun of the South when you're not fucking bopping? Like, don't give me that shit. Man of the Woods, which is his most, I would say, folky track, just does not fit over the production. Again, the poppy production does not support a folk track, and it will never will. And Flannel,
God,
oh god, just Jesus Christ, just super cringy. One of the more country pop mixes. The production's terrible, and it's just goddamn irritating. And you mentioned Young Man at the end, just a really ingenuine moment on the entire album. This album's an hour long, and every track's around 4 minutes. Every track, it feels like he just loses touch after 2, or he runs out of saying anything new at 2. This album should not be an hour long.
It should have been an hour and 45 minutes.
So, then we could give it a properly lower score than Migos, but since it isn't, we're gonna have to give it a little bit better. But yeah, this is just completely. What are our favorite moments? Say something where he mentioned, and I think Hard Stuff is actually a okay moment at the second half. I think it was the closest that he got to actually doing Americana plus 808s. I think,
which is not super close.
It's not. It's
still...
better. It's better on that, and I think Filthy is actually one of the better moments on this project as well. But yeah, this is not good. It's really just not well thought out. He should have picked a style, or at least one, or he should have better mastered which style he was going to go down with, and he just didn't on this project. I think in the end, I'm going to have to give this a 2.8 out of 10. I just did not care for it. JT just needs to, like, I hope he goes back into pop music after this. I hope he just doesn't delve into country anymore. Like, I hope this is a one and done and we never have to hear this again. And also, the Super Bowl performance last night sucked. So
it was very safe and boring, except for he did perform Mirrors.
That was, like, he didn't sing, really. He just danced. His, like, vocals, the audio was fucked up. Like, the background vocals were higher than him always. I couldn't hear. And, like, a lot of times he wasn't singing. He was just dancing. The part with Prince was okay. It was tasteful, I would say. It's better. So. I would say this is better than Red Hot Chili Peppers when they did that.
But it was not as good as the Tupac hologram.
It wasn't as good as when Prince did it, like, a long time ago. It wasn't as good as, I would say, even Lady Gaga last year.
Bruno Mars was good.
Was it Bruno Mars or was it Red Hot Chili Peppers?
A couple of years ago, Bruno Mars was on. He was really good.
Okay.
He's a good performer.
Yeah.
But, yeah, overall, I think I'm going to have to give Justin Timberlake a 2.5.
Okay. That's Man with the Wood. He
Yeah.
took his wood and beat us over the head with it for a solid hour.
Back up, pal.
Back up with your wood. Get your wood out of me face.